Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3325. Today's date is 2nd of February 2025. It's been almost like a night at 10 p.m. 10:18 p.m. Okay, yeah, 22 22:18. Like, I don't know. There are a couple of people who are kind of like a say 800 or 800, not 800. Oh, 800. Okay, yeah. So 22:18. It's been almost like a at night at 10:18 p.m. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let's ask bunch of questions. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What is the role of observation in understanding the world? Okay. Yeah. That is kind of like a something very different kind of questions. Okay. Okay. First of all, a couple of days ago, I was actually watching the Leonardo, the Demons of Leonardo. It's a web series, by the way. This web series is actually based on Da Vinci. Okay, Leonardo da Vinci. Who is the Leonardo da Vinci? He's really amazing guy, really great personality. Okay, yeah, and he was actually real, by the way. Okay, yeah, the Mona Lisa painting is literally famous painting, is actually painted by the Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, he's not just a painter, he is like like so many things. Okay, yeah. So while I was watching the web series, I was literally influenced by the thought process of Leonardo da Vinci, the way that they think, the way that their thought process, it was really incredible. So I wanted to think like him. Okay, what makes him, like, I just wanted to like think like, how do I supposed to think like Leonardo da Vinci? So I went to the chat GPT and kind of like ask that he suggests me such a question so that I would think like Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, yeah. And this is one of those questions. The question says that, wait, what is the role of observation in understanding the world? Okay, yeah. Like, means like that ki how do we supposed to, like, observation is a kind of like a something that you observe thing. Okay, yeah. How is a kind of like a something role, like how is like a, is like observation is, okay, it's a pretty difficult to understand, but it's not. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me ask this question again. What is the role of observation in understanding the world? Okay, yeah. So what exactly is this thing? Okay, it's a little bit fucked up, but it's not really fucked up. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what is exactly the observation on, and how do we supposed to understand the world through the observation? How do we supposed to do that? How? Okay, yeah. To understand this question, you have to like a little bit of something really switch the perspective. Okay, yeah. Perspective means like that game, thinking from another point of perspective. Okay, yeah. What exactly is this thing? All right, yeah. So in everyday life, we actually seen kind of like a something very normal world. Okay, there is a plant, there is a things. Okay, yeah, whatever. Just take example plant. Okay, yeah, plant is a kind of like a something things that it's always be there. Okay, you wake up, the plant is there. Tomorrow it will be there. Day after tomorrow it will be there. It's not meant to be moved. Okay, yeah. So looking at, like, if I wanted to observe the plant, it quite and boring, right? Yeah, it's like really boring. Okay, yeah. Now what should I supposed to do is that key, I just kind of like a something attach a kind of like a somebody camera who is kind of like a taking a photo, each photo every hour. Okay, yeah. Now I have to put that camera, like start recording. He have to take the photo once in hour, okay, of that particular plant, and let that camera record for almost like a 2 year, no, like a 10 year. Okay, yeah, 10 year, yeah, 10 year. That camera is actually taking photo every hour. Okay, yeah. So each photo is a kind of like a act as a frame. Okay, yeah. And that frame is act like a combination of all those frame are act as a time lapse. Okay, And when you see the entire time lapse of that particular photos, it look like the plant is actually growing. The plant is kind of like a simply just like understand in the 10 year we could kind of like a simply realize that how would a plant is kind of like a move, like a switches color, like a, in the winter it went something really light, in the rain it went dark green, in summer it went brown. Okay, yeah. As also the branch change, basically in everyday life we think that the plant doesn't move, but when we watch the time lapse we realize that the plant is also move. They kind of like a move their entire kind of like a some structure of the tree towards the sun, so that get more and more photosynthesis, they will get more and more sun, so they would kind of like create more and more photosynthesis. You also kind of like a see the kind of like a leaves are kind of like a born and die. Okay, yeah. You could see everything like a basically you could, when you see that particular time lapse, you kind of like a amaze of that particular structure. Like in everyday life plant is a kind of like a simply stay at is it, like a stay as it is. But when you watch the entire timeline of 10 year in just couple of minutes, you realize that whoa, how much big changes is actually happened. So this is called kind of like a simply observation. Okay, when you observe things from your point of perspective, it felt like a very common, like a yeah. But when you kind of like a look from very different point of perspective, then you realize that oh my god, like this is actually changed really really lot. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to experience this thing, go to the YouTube, search about Burj Khalifa time lapse. Okay, yeah. Like basically they actually do the same thing. Okay, yeah. Basically what does they do, they kind of like a simply record up, like they attach the camera in particular lamppost and they record the entire building how it's actually created. When you see that particular time lapse you feel that oh my god, like the way that they created it was like you felt like that, like within a minute you just found out that building is actually created within a minute. Okay, yeah, within a couple of minutes. It is like a really incredible, it felt so good that how do you supposed to say this thing. Okay, yeah. So time lapse or kind of like a something we see the world from different point of perspective, it shows you kind of like a very different opinion regarding about looking at the world. Okay, yeah. As also, okay, yeah. uh we never really kind of like a something really appreciate the microscopic world. Okay, yeah. Now what is a microscopic world? Oh yeah, like the world that we are living is a kind of like something very common. Okay, yeah, very common from our point of perspective. Okay, yeah. But if we went to like if we look at the like the person who always look at the microscope and microscopic world, you realize microscopic world is a kind of like a something also great, also something really amazing that you just wow. Okay, yeah. You realize that how the bacteria evolve, you realize that how the fungus growth, you realize that how does kind of like a tiny animals are kind of like a survive in such a very very like not survive, but it's a very very small things that we won't be able to see. Okay, you seen everything like a basically when you see the microscopic point of perspective, you realize the grain of the salt how big it is. Okay, yeah, you realize the diameter of air how big it is. Okay, it's so amazing things. Okay, when you looked at from different perspective, means microscopic perspective, you realize how world is literally tiny too. Okay, yeah. As also same thing when you look up and when you look at the space, you realize that space is so big that you won't be able to see. Yeah, because your vision will not be kind of like a something went back, because it is like how do I supposed to say, it's a really incredible thing. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to see the entire universe, your life is kind of like a little less to see the universe, because the universe is that much big. Okay, yeah, it's a vast. Okay, also you don't really understand the how big is the sun, or you don't really understand how big is the planet earth. Okay, like basically we seen a kind of like a something comparison video regarding about size, that earth is kind of like a this much size, jupiter is that much big, sun is that much big. Okay, yeah. But it's just like that na, ki when you see the earth from your point of perspective, earth means like that ki, like example, you went to the kind of like a simply going to the moon and looking back from window to the earth, you realize that how earth is so beautiful. It's when you look the perspective, it shapes everything, it change everything. Okay, it understand the world very differently. Okay, yeah. So is this observation is a kind of like a something at some sort of key role into understanding the life? Well, life is like, what is actually the life? Okay, yeah. Like how do I supposed to define the life? Okay, yeah. So if I want to say my life, okay, yeah. So my life, am I talking about my life? Like if I wanted to understand my life, is this observation is a kind of like a simply act some sort of important role in it? Somewhat it is. Okay, let me tell you regarding about stuff is actually happening in my life. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing at the age of 17 I realized that who I wanted to become. Okay, yeah. And I 17, 18, yeah, at the age of 18 I realized that who I want to become. Like I wanted to be a filmmaker. Like when I watch kind of like a something making of the video, I realized that the process was like really incredible, and I love the fact of being as a filmmaker. I wanted to be a filmmaker. Okay, yeah. At that I realized that yeah, I wanted to become a filmmaker. Okay, yeah. I try so much thing. Okay, yeah. I'm not belongs to the kind of like a something such a person who afford everything. No. As also I didn't really have that much money to go to the filmmaking school. As also I didn't really have that much money to go to the Bombay so that I could pursue the filmmaking career. I didn't really have those things. And as also like chasing such a dream where like a society and the community around is kind of like a something very negative or kind of like a something not think as a career, then it's a kind of like a something very harsh. Okay, because you don't really have money, you don't really have any support, you don't really have anything to do, just hope for that things that you will gonna be something like that person that you wanted to be. Like doing such a thing is really hard. Okay, yeah. Then I decided that ki if I wanted to try this thing alone, then I won't be able to do it. So probably it's best for me to kind of like a something just do some sort of job. Okay, I realized that like within almost like a like how much year, okay, from 2016 to 2024 year of my life, I was kind of like a something went to a doing a job, and I realized that ki I am like a not meant to do a job. Okay, yeah. From 2020 I was started doing kind of like a content creation, and I'm still doing content creation. It's 2025. Okay, yeah. So when I try to look back in my life, I realized that ki how many mistakes that I made in throughout this year. Okay, yeah. And I'm not like basically I accept those mistakes that I did it. Okay, yeah. And I also took all the blame and everything towards me, because all those mistakes are happen is because of me. Okay, yeah. As also because of lack of experience or lack of knowledge or lack of confidence and everything. Okay, yeah. Right now I am kind of like a such a person who is literally focused on what I want to become. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing na ki at the age of 17 or at the age of 18 I wanted to be kind of like a something a filmmaker. Okay, yeah. But it's just like that I don't know what is actually the filmmaker. I don't know what is actually my path. I don't know what exactly is this thing. I just kind of like realize that this is the kind of like a stuff that I wanted to become, and I just chase it. I just go, I just wanted to do this thing. Okay, yeah. But when I try to analyze myself, situation around me, what kind of like a step should I supposed to do it to achieve that thing, I know that one day I will be gonna kind of like make that particular film that I wanted to be, because I wrote that film. Okay, yeah. But it just like it takes time. Okay, not only take time, but it also really required effort and mistakes and everything. Okay, yeah. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. Am I looking back my life, I realize that how many mistakes that I did. And it kind of like a teach me some sort of lesson that what should you not supposed to do when you achieve that thing again. Okay, and that is really good thing. Example, 4 year of my doing a job, I realized that ki whatever the opportunity that I will gonna have, what will gonna opportunity that I will gonna get regarding about job, like someone is offering me that ki like a 20 lakh package or 40 lakh package, I will not gonna accept this thing. Okay, yeah. Why? Because I realize that what I want to become. Okay, yeah. And how do I want to become? Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing, when you try to achieve your journey or your kind of like a some path, your path is literally blur. Okay, yeah, but you just know that ki this is the kind of like a some things that you wanted to achieve. Path is kind of like a something very unclear, it's a very blur. Okay, there is a lot of smokes in it that you don't really knew it. Okay, yeah. But when you went ahead and you just kind of like a take a steps and things like that, slowly path are started look like little bit of clear, look like something really that you're trying to see the kind of like a simply path, like how good is your path or how bad is your path. Okay, it's something very different. Okay, yeah. So since I observe my things, it kind of like a help me to take a better decision for myself and try to be make my better life or better future for myself. Okay, yeah. As also, let me tell you one thing, my life is not ended yet. Okay, yeah. And as also, I am not kind of like consider as kind of like a somebody I have a lot of experience. No, I make lot of mistakes in my past. I will gonna make mistakes in the future too regarding about the things that I wanted to become or something like that. Okay, yeah. So, but it's just like that. Now, during this process, during this kind of like a something things that I want or like a purpose that I have, and it it kind of like a something make me to learn something more. Okay, yeah. Like let me tell you one thing now. I wanted to walk, I wanted to run, I wanted to fly, I wanted to slide over, I wanted to kind of like a like basically just I don't want to stop. Okay, I have some sort of purpose and I wanted to achieve that purpose. During this achieving that purpose, I might gonna fail multiple times, but I will gonna rise up and I will gonna kind of like a somethingly being confident. I will push confidence inside of me and I will do something that meant for me or best for me. I will gonna do that. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something observation is actually helping in my life. Okay, yeah. Like basically looking back. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, there is another thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, yeah. This observation is not just happened just overnight. Uh, this observation didn't really happen overnight. Nothing really happened. No, nothing really at all. There is a couple of process that I did every single day to kind of like something observe myself. And what is that kind of like a process? The things that you are actually hearing is called artifact episode. Okay, yeah. It's a kind of like a something self-talk. Okay. I was kind of like a somebody record asking bunch of questions like this question to myself and giving the answer to myself. Okay, yeah. There is nothing in front of me, there is no person at all, just a kind of like a something mobile and I'm recording myself. Okay, yeah. It's a very kind of like a something, I don't know what exactly is this thing. Okay, it's a kind of like a something self-talk that I wanted to mention, but it's just like it's more than that. Okay, it something felt really incredible. Okay, yeah. I am doing this thing in from 2015, so it's been almost like a decade. Yeah, because in 2020, like a within a like a within a couple of day, I will gonna kind of like a somebody complete entire decade. Okay, yeah. It's been almost like a 10 year I'm recording artifact. Okay, yeah. So basically because of I am kind of like a recording such a thing, it's kind of like a something help me what I want to become. It kind of like a something help me that I don't know how do I supposed to say. It's a kind of like a somebody every day I am kind of like a looking at to myself, to talk to myself. It's kind of like a little bit observation. I did it every single day. Because of this thing, I'm kind of like a my goals and everything are far more clear. Okay. I know what I want to become and I know the path of everything. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a somebody observation is kind of like a doing such a thing. Okay, from my point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So this is my life. Okay, yeah. Like basically throughout this observation, I am looking at my life, and this is my kind of like a somebody opinion regarding about that. Okay, yeah. But if I wanted to say a life means like that, ki life on earth, or kind of like a life that you are looking at. Okay, yeah. So how does it's kind of like a simply impact, like how does kind of like a simply observation is actually impact on the life, or how does we kind of like a simply understand the world by kind of like a something just observing. Okay, yeah. There are a couple of pointers are here. Okay, yeah. Let's go first point. Science and discovery. Okay, yeah. So what exactly is this thing? Okay, let me tell you one thing. Science and discovery. What exactly is this thing? Okay, yeah. So right now we are living in this world. It's been 2025. Okay, yeah. We have big buildings, cars, mobile phones. The things that you are actually seeing, you are bitterly privileged. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing, the things that you have in entire human existence, we don't really have that. Like basically, if I'm looking at entire human existence for millions of years, this kind of like a something evolution is actually happened within 200 years ago. Okay, yeah. Like a 200 year ago, the kind of like a something the Audyogik Kranti. Okay, it's a kind of like only Marathi term. I'm not really sure what is actually English term for that. Okay, yeah. But since then, Audyogik Kranti is actually happened. Okay, yeah. what's the what's the English word for Audyogik Kranti? By the way, I am from like a Marathi medium classes, so that's why this Audyogik Kranti is actually like Audyogik uh, KRINTI, Audyogik Kranti in English. Okay, yeah. So, oh, Industrial Revolution. Oh, shit. I am from Marathi medium, by the way, so that's why this Audyogik Kranti is actually stuck inside of me. Okay, yeah. So, since the Industrial Revolution is actually happened, it kind of like a something changed the world. It changed like the way that we look, the way that see the world and everything. Okay, yeah. Basically this thing 500 year ago, we have kind of like a something like a raja, like means like kings and queens and states and empire. Okay, before that people are kind of like a somebody slave. Before that people are kind of like a meant to be survive. Before that people are kind of like a look like monkey. So these are kind of like a somebody evolution is actually happened. Okay, yeah. When you see the scientific discovery, when you see the human evolution, you realize the observation. When you see from that observation point of perspective, you realize what exactly the world look like. Okay, yeah. It's not meant to be. As also there is also another thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, I usually kind of like a something like to know about like tectonic plates. Okay, what's a tectonic plates? Okay, so basically the earth that we are actually living, we are actually living in particular tectonic plates. Okay, yeah. What's a tectonic plate? Okay, yeah. It's a kind of like a part of geography. Okay, it's a kind of like a surface of the earth. Okay, yeah. Beneath that surface of the earth is actually placed on some sort of tectonic plates, and these are always be moving. Okay, these are always moving and something like that. I am belong to the India, by the way. India is a subcontinent country. What's a subcontinent? What's a subcontinent country? A subcontinent country means like that kind of like a some country are meant to be a continent, but eventually it became kind of like a country. Okay, yeah. How? Okay, so basically is this India is a part of Africa. Okay, millions of years ago, India is a part of Africa. Because of that particular Indian tectonic plates are moved from apart from Africa, and then it went to the Eurasian plate. Okay, yeah. When the Indian plates are kind of like a bombard into the Eurasian plate, Himalaya was actually happened. Okay, yeah. So it's a kind of like a simply the if you went to the Google, you just went to the YouTube and kind of like a search about this, how this Indian plates are kind of like a bombard on Eurasian plate. Okay, you realize that you could see the observation of the millions of year. You realize that ki how much things actually happened. Okay, yeah. How much kind of like a something this Himalaya has actually happened. The Mount Everest is actually happened. You kind of like a seen that perspective. As also South America is a kind of like a part of Africa too. Okay, yeah. Because like a millions year ago, we have only one continent called Pangea. Okay, yeah. that Pangea means like that ki like basically all the continent are actually in one thing. Okay, yeah. Then it drifted apart. Okay, then it drifted apart with the ocean and rivers and everything and the plates and everything. And this is kind of like a sort of world that we are actually seeing in the future. That tectonic plates are always be a moving. So probably we will have kind of like a very different thing. Okay, we will have kind of like a see the Africa went somewhere, or like Antarctica came upwards or something like that. It's a lot of things that actually happen. Okay, when you see from the world from different point of perspective, the observation point of perspective, you realize the world is actually is not same. Okay, like everything is actually change. It's not actually a stable, nothing really is a stable. Okay, you always be moving, your plant, your world, your plates, your everything is actually moving, but it actually going in a such a speed that we won't be able to kind of like understand the speed, because it's a very so like a basically the Mount Everest is went like a, it always increases height for 1 centimeter per year, or 1 centimeter, like a basically the Mount Everest is almost like a 8,000 meter, which is kind of like it's only highest peak point. Okay, yeah, 8,000 meter. Okay, yeah, and it went only 1 centimeter per year, which is kind of like only so tiny, like basically 1 centimeter is just like one third of your finger. Okay, yeah, so it is like a so tiny, but yeah, it is like this is a kind of like a something moving speed of the plates and the moving speed of kind of like a something tectonic plates. Okay, yeah, so this is what kind of like a some observation is actually happened, like when you see the world, you realize there are a lot of things, like basically the humans and the empires and the surviving, and then industrial revolution, and right now we are living in this such a world where AI is a kind of like somebody taking over it. Okay, yeah, it's not taking over, but it just like future is also really crazy, like we would have flying cars, we would have something really crazy stuff in the next 100 year. We might gonna see very different thing, as also there is a lot of like a big things too, like a pollution. We have the pollution that we created, we are actually facing those global problem, as also the population decline, which is also really truth, by the way. Like within a century we will have very less amount of people will gonna exceed, will be gonna kind of like a something available within a century, or maybe like a within a 200 year after, things might gonna something really crazy happen. So yeah, this is kind of like a something very crazy thing. Okay, yeah, as also observation is also kind of like a something key, like how like there is another point that I wanted to talk about. Okay, creativity and art. Okay, yeah, so how does creativity is actually kind of like a something see the observation of the world. Okay, yeah, how does creativity, like how does kind of like if I'm looking at from the creativity point of perspective, then how does observation will gonna understand the world. Okay, yeah, so okay, yeah, so there is one thing that I wanted to talk about this thing. Okay, regarding about creativity in art. Okay, yeah, uh 200 year ago. Okay, not that like basically we will not gonna take too much kind of like a simply example, we just take kind of like a such example that everyone is familiar. Okay, yeah, so you went to the Google, search about old car. Okay, yeah, like a search about kind of like a first car in the world. You realize that that car is kind of like a look like a kind of like a ghoda gadi. Okay, what's a ghoda gadi? uh Also, I am from Marathi medium. That ghoda gadi is a Marathi word. Okay, yeah. How do I so fuck yeah? I didn't know. Wait. I was sometimes I just kind of like suddenly forget that I am from Marathi medium. Some of the words are actually okay. Yeah. GHODA Ghoda Gadi in English. Okay, yeah, what exactly it says? Horse cart. Oh, boy, how simple was that? No, I know. Well, like a Ghoda means horse, and Gadi means like I'm not like a cart, like but still horse cart. Okay, yeah, like probably just like that. No, like basically I was used to be a Marathi medium, so these are kind of like a something word like a Audyogik Kranti and Ghoda Gadi was a kind of like stuck inside of my head. So it just always meant to be say that Ghoda Gadi. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, we usually say tanga. Okay, yeah, like basically in Marathi words, we actually say a tanga. What's a tanga? Tanga means like that, same as horse cart. Okay, yeah. whatever. Let's talk about the creativity. Okay, yeah. So the first car is kind of like a look like a horse cart. Okay, yeah, which is almost like a 200 year ago cars look like that. Okay, yeah. Now look at the Cybertruck, the Tesla Cybertruck, which is also a kind of like a simply car. Okay, yeah, it's not a car, it's a truck by the way, but still. Okay, can you see the difference between this thing? Two cars, like a first car, like the car which is actually 200 year ago, the first car, and the car is a Cybertruck that we are. Have you seen the design is actually changing in the car? Okay, yeah, the way that car used to be and the way that car we are driving now is like so much different. The way that it looks, the way that it perform, the way that it act, the way that it serves the purpose is kind of like a something shifted from something really to the futuristic, like a Cybertruck. See the Cybertruck, like a, when you see that particular Cybertruck, the car, that truck would kind of like a represent the futurist car. Okay, and which is also literally futurist car by the way. Okay, very electric, very kind of like capable enough to handle so much load and things like that. Okay, yeah. So because of this observation, like look at this perspective. Okay, look at the cars would change from every year, and you could see that how the creativity is actually change. Okay, yeah. Basically is this thing, like a 150 year ago, usually all the car are meant to be curve and meant to be things, but right now in this futuristic world we would see the very flat. Okay, the car went to be so flat, like edges are really sharp and things like that. And this is actually same thing happened with our architecture things too. Basically is this thing, 100 year ago or 200 year ago, buildings are kind of like a meant to be very curvy, very kind of like what's a curvy means, like that they have kind of like a something, the very something that the symbol of they put a lot of things, like just look at the architecture of 200 year ago and look at the architecture that now we have architecture as kind of like a very sleek design. Okay, yeah, like we actually prefer to be very slick design, very straight, very similar line. Okay, but like a 200 year ago we have kind of like a very curve and very things. Okay, artistic approach is kind of like a something change from evolution of times. Okay, yeah. So this is also kind of like a something will happen. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something observation, like when you see the creativity in kind of like a something such a way that it looks something like that. Probably I mentioned it, but I'm not really sure. Okay, yeah. Emotional intelligence and communication. Okay, yeah, what is actually is this thing? Have you seen the people, like let's say a man? Okay, yeah. Usually is this thing na ki 200 year ago, or kind of not 200, like let's take an example, 500 year ago, men are should supposed to be very heavy, should supposed to be kind of like a simply act as a man. Okay, yeah. The definition of the man is a kind of like a very different in 500 year ago. What is actually the man? Okay, yeah, what is, like what should I supposed to, like what exactly is this thing? A man should supposed to be a strong, I'm talking about 500 year ago, or like 1,000 year ago, let's say 1,000 year ago. Okay, 1,000 year ago man should supposed to be look like a man. It looked like kind of like a some look like a animal. Okay, yeah, it should supposed to be strong, it should supposed to be like a really crazy, it should have a lot of strength and kind of like a things like that. Like usually is this thing, this is kind of like a some perfect definition of a kind of like a something man was 1,000 year ago. At that time, emotional also kind of like a simply ways, like basically is this thing, 1,000 year ago man shouldn't supposed to be have that much emotional things, no, nothing really at all. Man should supposed to be strong, it always kind of like a somebody hungry, it kind of like a somebody always act like a kind of like a somebody the animal, it kind of like a somebody fuck multiple girls at the same time. Why I'm saying this thing, I don't know, it's just like that na, at that time kind of like a somebody consider as a masculinity, like a having like a chest hair, that much chest hair. And as also is this thing, at that time people are don't really care about women's and things like that. People like at that time man shouldn't supposed to be care about the women feelings and things like that, nothing really at all. Like basically just man means like power and went to the war and act like a soldier and do his killing and do his stuff. At that time man should supposed to be called that thing. Okay, yeah. But in this moment, in this time, man is kind of like a somebody change. Okay, yeah, but how is this thing? Like basically today's is also kind of like a man should supposed to be have forearms or six packs, and then like a basically muscular things and something like that. It is also called as a kind of like a somebody I'm not talking about kind of like a somebody physical point of perspective. Okay, no, I'm kind of like a something like कि like a how do I suppose to say? It's a very difficult to say, but okay, yeah. Like basically thousands of year ago, man never really care about the feeling of women. Okay, yeah. At that time, domestic violence are happened all the time. Okay, yeah. What's a domestic violence? Means like that the man is kind of like a beating his wife. Okay, yeah, which is happen all the time. Okay, yeah. As also is this thing that key emotional intelligence change. Okay, yeah, means like that key at that time people are kind of like a meant to be considered as I am the king, so that means I am the great of everyone. Okay, like basically I am kind of like a somebody great of everyone, like no one is kind of like a somebody greater than me. At that time attitude was really high. Okay, yeah, because like basically have you ever kind of like a somebody watch any kind of like a somebody movie which is based on historical figure which are represent that they have so much attitude regarding about those stuff, like I am the king so I should supposed to be act as a higher attitude person, so something like that. They have that kind of like a somebody feeling. Okay, yeah. As also is this thing at that time people are like a like I'm talking about as a man point of perspective. Okay, yeah. But if I'm looking at from the like this generation, like the man are kind of like a simply capable to understand the human understand, like basically at this moment domestic violence are actually happen very less. Okay, yeah. I'm not saying domestic violence is not happen, it happened, yeah, somewhere it actually happened, but like usually thousands of year ago domestic violence are meant to be happen in every home every day. Yeah, it's a kind of like a some just a daily routine kind of like a stuff. But at this year, at this era, at this kind of like a somebody age at 2025, this domestic violence are kind of like considered as a crime. Okay, yeah, and probably no one is actually does that. It happened at somewhere, but it is very less. Okay, as also is this thing the today is the people, they have very like a gratitude regarding about the people, they have also attitude too, but they have like some sort of people have some sort of attitude too regarding about money and power, but still some people have little bit gratitude towards other people too, like they're meant to be great and things like that. Okay, yeah. Like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing thoughts are changed during the kind of like some sort of time interval. Okay, yeah. Like basically at that time slavery was kind of like something very common. At that time slavery is not exist here. Okay, yeah. And if you wanted to do some sort of slaves, it's criminal, it's a crime. Okay, yeah. And you won't be able to do any kind of like a somebody like a slavery here, nothing really. Like basically like maybe like I haven't really seen this, haven't really seen the entire world, but probably somewhere at something might be slavery or exist, but very less. Okay, but thousands of year ago, which is bit really common by the way. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, the emotional intelligence is actually change over the period of time. Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like some observation is actually happen when you see that particular things is actually happen, you see kind of like assembly how the people is actually think from that point of perspective and this point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So yes, now self improvement and decision making. Well, I'm not gonna talk about this thing. Like I'm really tired to talk. Like I'm been actually talking for almost last 40 minutes, so I wanted to stop. Okay, yeah. There is survival and awareness thing. Like should I wanted to talk about this thing? These are two pointers. Well, yeah, like you understand the concept now, how observation is actually happen to understand the life. Okay, yeah, it's it's a something that na ki like basically you like changes are actually happen throughout the time. Okay, and when you see that particular changes in kind of like a something your time, then you realize that ki how things is actually happen, how we are, how we used to be, and how are we today. Okay, yeah, changes are meant to be happen, like there is nothing really happen is a stationary, nothing really at all. Your emotion, your body, your observation, your communication, your surrounding, everything is actually changing all the time. Okay, yeah. when you see all those changes in very limited period of time, you will realize that how things has actually happened. Look at your past, who you are, what is your, what is exactly your ambitions, and look at you right now, what is exactly you are. Okay, yeah, you've seen the drastic changes inside of you. Okay, yeah, so this is what actually happened, dude. This is what kind of like a something life, and this is what kind of like a something world works, probably, from my opinion, by the way. Okay, whatever your opinion, you just comment below. I might not say who is actually listening this thing till this now, but yeah, if you are listening this, you are kind of like somebody very special person. Okay, then that means you are kind of like a have that much like what exactly is this thing, instant gratification. Okay, yeah, like you don't really have that instant gratification thing. You are wait for things that meant to be happen for good, and that is something really very less qualities that actually have in this world, because most of people are actually went for instant gratification. So you are actually listening this till this moment, so that means you have little less instant gratification. That means like you are meant to be focused for, like you have, I don't know, you are really very good person, okay, from every point of perspective. Okay, yeah, this is it, and thank you.